There are various causes for your depression. You've been listening to false gurus. You've drunk of their information. Go do this. Read 30 pages daily. Go to the gym. And where has all that led you? Back to me. It's very evident by your life that all of this doesn't work. They are trying to reduce a very complex problem to one sentence, which is go to the gym, read 30 pages daily, say some positive affirmations, do a 3 to 4 hours morning routine before you begin your day. Is what the Bible remarks as your later states being worse than the previous one because you are now a depressed muscular man. If you walk down to the corner of the street and see a skinny guy crying, alright, weak. Conversely, you see a big dude tearing up. That is the monstrous sight to behold. I never wish that upon any single one of you, including my enemies. The first key we would highlight today, and I want you to pay attention very carefully. By pay attention, I don't mean putting me on 2x or watching shorts amidst this video. Put this video, scroll it down so you don't see how many minutes is remaining. Put it far away from you and focus all your attention on this key I'm about to share. The first one, you detest process. This is prevalent, especially in the younger demographic, that is ages 9 to 30. In this age of insanity where every single thing is instant dopamine, instant food, instant charity, instant. You take that same mindset to whatever it is you're doing, because unfortunately, you cannot segment your life. How you do the small things is how you do the big ones. The Bible says it. He who is faithful in little is faithful in large. That's why I correct my staffs any single time they try and come up with excuses that sounds like I'll be more confident when I assume a leadership role. I'll speak in a more assertive manner when I get that promotion. It's the same thing with you. I'll do XYZ when X happens. I'll speak to that lady when I get the latest iPhone series. All you're doing is using externalities to bolster up your confidence. And if that's the route you're taking, it would invariably end bad. Now back to the initial discourse. A huge chunk of you detests process. But process is something even you and I understand fundamentally. If you plant a seed today, check next morning, and it has already sprouted with a little bit of mango hanging from that one plant. You won't eat of that tree because you are intelligent enough to understand biology that certain things takes time. Extrapolate it to your own life. You go to the gym and after 2 weeks of being consistent, you detest the fact that your muscles, your arms aren't as big enough. It's asinine. It's dumb. That's the same thing as saying, I gave birth to a child today and I want him to start speaking. If he eventually speaks, you would run away. That's the truth. So everything subscribes to the law of process. There's a due season for every single thing on the earth. Process. Do not detest process. Embrace process. Understand that everything connects to everything. In fact, most of you do not understand that it's the lessons that is the goal, not the outcome. The lessons you learn along the way is twice as valuable as the desired outcome. Think back to when you attempted an audacious goal. Over a long enough period of time, now you look at it in hindsight, you'd see clearly that who you became in the process, the level of maturity you had to undergo, certain things you dropped, certain vulgar words, certain slangs, the kind of people you used to hang out with changed. In fact, the things you said you would do when you attained said result are no longer seems appealing because you've grown. It's very evident that who you became is better than what you received. Because who you became is the kind of person that will handle that result with grace. When you ask God for something, one of the primary ways He answers your prayer is to make you become that kind of individual who would handle that result perfectly. That's why you see crypto kids addicted to all shades of drugs and cocaine. They end up broke or even dead because they are not mature enough to understand that once you scale to certain level of wealth and fame, you become a robbery target. Not every single person thinks like you, my father would say. He said, be careful of the kind of people you hang out with. Not everybody has the same heart as you. Some of you are brilliant enough to understand how finances work. Money equals to value. So if I want money, I have to be valuable or provide some kind of service that is enough for the individual to part away with a set amount. Most people don't think that way. Robbers believe they are so valueless that the only way they can get financial results is to harm someone, deprive some family of their hard-earned savings. Is that the kind of person you want to hang around with or speak English with? No, no. Process teaches us a lot. I remember this time when I was in debt. I started my first business and I said I'm going to burn my goods in order to take over the island. So any money that would come in, I would spend it all, spend it all, spend it all. I wanted this business to pay my rent. Something remarkable happened when the rent was due. The business failed. So I was in debt with the landlord, debt with the business. Nobody's speaking my call. I was in the middle of an implosion. The landlord is knocking my door. I would evict you. I'm going to publicly shame you if you don't give me this money. By 2 a.m. in the morning, I'm at your house, knocking the door and asking you, where is my money? I'll make sure every single person in the apartment knows that you've erred and defaulted in my bill. Looking back, I said, what is this? Why is this happening? And I was frustrated, about to do something nasty. I got on my knees with tears in my eyes and I said, you would have to kill me before I give up. I said this thing literally, and some of you are feel very inspired. You feel motivated to take action. Some of you are crying now because when confronted with similar situation, you gave up. Everyone likes the inspiring quote, like the one I stated earlier. Everyone likes the quote from Edison. I didn't fail 10,000 times. I found 10,000 ways the light bulb wouldn't work. Yet, when confronted with pertinent situation, they capitulate, they give up, they run away. That's how most of you act. If there's one lesson you learn from this key, who you become is twice as valuable as the outcome. That's the first one. We move to the second key, comparison. Comparison is the thief of joy, as you all know. Most of you compare yourself with your body. Some of you, your depression started the moment you went on social media and saw your body as a Mercedes. You might not be courageous to admit it. You might not be courageous to attribute it to that experience, but this is the truth. The Bible clearly admonishes that act. It says, those who compare themselves against themselves are not wise. Be wise, be wise, be wise. Your time shouldn't be spent gossiping and arguing on social media. That's why I find you guys very funny, you mortals. Before, I used to believe everybody is stupid. A belief I still hold up until this day. But the problem with most of you is you have TikTok brain. You think like the internet. You're so dumb that the only reason for waking up is to find some lady that you text back and forth and hope for a meetup in a year. It's a very terrible way to live. Now, I'm not going to expand on this concept for the sake of time. But if there's anything you would know in comparison, it is a waste of time. The same Lord is rich unto all. If there's anything you envy, if there's any skill, any material outlet you admire, you can get it as well if you put your mind to it. Most of you want the crown, but not the scars. The way to the throne is through the cross. And do not make the mistake of detesting how big your cross is. Let me share a story. There was this guy in the middle of a lot of people. They all carried crosses of equal size to an unknown destination. Something very unique happened. The guy fell flat on his face and began to weep. God, my cross is too big. Help me reduce it. Please help me reduce it. Please help me reduce it. And funnily so, God answered his prayer, gave him a lighter cross. He picked it up, happily strolling towards that journey. And after 3-4 days of walking, they were confronted with a gap of which every single person used their cross to scale over. The guy got in the midst of the gap, raised his cross, it was too tiny, fell on his face, began to weep. Surprisingly, God extended a helping hand and gave him the initial size of the cross. The point I'm trying to highlight is every single thing that's happening should happen, not might or is a mistake. It should happen. Of course, there are certain consequences that are as a result of our terrible decision making or mistakes we've made in the past. But even so, you can convert that negative situation to victory. This is something the Bible says. All things work for the good of them that love the Lord. For as long as you love the Lord, or whenever you're going through a painful scenario, verify if your love is still there and you'll be fine. For the sake of time, we'll hit pause. And as always, my friends, it's a pleasure speaking to you. I'll see you in the next one.